today we talk about talent development. In cybersecurity, as we all know, there's a big gap, shortage of cyber talent.
Yes.
Industry estimate about, of course the number could be different, but as the general consensus is about 2 to 3 million people are short in this field. But then when we talk about AI also, we need a lot of talent in AI field. When you combine those two together, for people who know AI and the cybersecurity, that's an even bigger challenge. So that's a topic for today. So for the ideal team, for example, in your BiBu Labs, how do you construct the team to tackle this industry problem, apply AI to cybersecurity?
It's a great question, Brian. I personally, I believe a diverse team is required in order to solve the challenge of or apply AI within cybersecurity. But in our case, the context of the data is very important within cybersecurity. Understanding what a real attack is, how attackers are performing their maneuvers, understanding the different strategies which could be applied for hackers, and AI could be embedded in so many different layers within the cybersecurity framework. That perhaps there could be intelligent ways to apply AI within one aspect, so that it's less likely to leverage a similar technique in another area, although difference in depth is prominent. So again, it comes down to boils down to understanding the data itself, like understanding how attackers are performing their tasks, and then how do we model those attacks.
Right.
And which requires understanding of cybersecurity.
Right.
And then also a broad understanding of cybersecurity, so that we know what's the best place to embed what technologies, so that we can de-risk a client from
So
hackers.
that's a kind of a starting point to understand how to apply AI to cybersecurity.
Yes.
Based on that, you can construct or build your team from talent perspective.
100%.
So what about the talent team in your company right now?
So right now we have 2 professors on board as advisors, and we are actually talking with another individual, and we're looking to bring on board another person. So in our case, for instance, we have a broad industry experience from cybersecurity perspective, from various forms of AI within reinforcement learning, and some other techniques, and also another individual who has a broad experience within cybersecurity, user modeling, and machine learning in general. So in our case, we have people who have strong expertise in cybersecurity, and machine learning, and another individual whose focus is on certain algorithms within AI in general, and then we kind of work together.
Complement each other.
And exactly complement each other, share our insights, and then better perform our tasks. And now if you look at the enterprise world, for instance, it's very rare to find individuals who have both cybersecurity as well as the AI or machine learning expertise. What happens is you have usually in security operation centers, you have these penetration testers who perform real attacks, and on the other side you have data scientists who look at these the attack vectors, understand the data, and try to build models to better understand those actions. Right. So there is a constant back and forth even today in the industry between the cybersecurity and the AI and machine learning, because it's so hard to find individuals with both understanding. Right. Again, in our case, two of our team members have strong expertise both in cybersecurity and machine learning. And
but when it comes to the cybersecurity, based on what you said, is what I hear is not only you have to know AI, but also you need to understand the cybersecurity domains.
Yes.
So if just AI alone, can that, like machine learning itself, can resolve the problem, or that's a different?
It's very hard. It's for instance, I would again, my understanding of that would be, for instance, if it's a surgeon or looking to operate on a patient at a operation theater, and perhaps we have all the tools, but then you don't have the surgeon to perform the tests and understand when to use what tools in order to better assist the patient. So similar analogy could be applied within this context, where you might have strong machine learning individuals, but it's very hard to first understand our highly complex environment within cybersecurity, understand the real problem. Then we have to understand the data. We have to understand how are attackers performing the tests, and then we have to, depending on the models we leverage, we want to ensure that we can mitigate risk for the end user. And then even after that, we have the problems of highly imbalanced data sets. You have the dynamic environments, as well as the fact that not necessarily all attack patterns correlate to all different organizations, because they're actually getting highly targeted and sophisticated. So again, it requires a multidisciplinary team in order to understand the cybersecurity context in general, understand the real problem, right? Okay, now once you understand the problem, then we might have a AI talent or machine learning talent on board. Then we kind of dissect the problem, look at the data, and understand the real, like how attackers are maneuvering through this pattern, and then understanding the data itself to understand that this is actually a real attack. This is actually a false positive. This is normal user behavior. And from there on, building models, but then ensuring that these models would change as the environment changes and more. So, from a research environment, it's easier to prove certain models, but once you're in a live production environment, it's a different beast.
Okay, feels like you need to learn a lot of things to working in this field, and of course, in the ideal world, you have somebody know both sides, right? So AI, cybersecurity, probably also people side of the process. But in reality, it's really hard to find that kind of people, so which require you have a team of people working very closely. They cannot, even though they are specialists in different fields, they cannot just separate, right? So you need to work really closely to...
Absolutely, and if there are individuals, in our case, we have a couple where we have understanding of machine learning as well as strong cybersecurity expertise. We can kind of correlate the different techniques with the context of the problem we're trying to solve, and better strategize to understand that this is the best place to solve the problem. Because one thing could happen is, as vendors, we build a tool, but then there could be another vendor who solves the same problem earlier on in the chain. In which case, although with defense in depth, it makes sense to make sense to incorporate both solutions. But but then another vendor could de-risk the client's environment further, so there might be less need for us to implement our solution. So that being said, that strategic understanding of cybersecurity in general, then understanding the framework, and then understanding what are the AI models which could be leveraged, and then perhaps leveraging an expert who's focusing on those models to identify, to further add context, and then working together as a team along with our industry partners to best deliver on a solution.
Okay, cool. So speaking of the skills, are there some what are some key skills we need? Or if you work in this field, both AI and cybersecurity, what kind of key skill sets you're looking for?
I think to get into the context of applying machine learning within cybersecurity. So assuming that individual already has cybersecurity experience and that they're looking into how to best leverage machine learning in our solve problem. It helps to have a math background, although it's not necessarily. But if it's because we want to understand what these algorithms are doing on a high level, at least, to best understand or best make decisions that, given a certain context, which is the best model to leverage in order to solve the problem. And then that being said, the understanding of, say, machine learning in general could be in your unsupervised learning models, what are the supervised learning models and semi-supervised learning models, and applying it to real cybersecurity data. And now there's some open source data sets which could be leveraged, and the understanding of, say, programming languages like, say, Python would be of great advantage.
All right.
And then just trying out these algorithms on data sets and kind of visualizing the output to get more insight as to, this is how we would normally do this, solve this problem without machine learning expertise, but now with the data science expertise, this is what we can do, and kind of, I would say, experimenting in parallel as we are, going on with our tasks.
You understand current problem, but also look at how AI ways or machine learning ways to resolve that.
Absolutely. An example would be in consulting. You could see various consultants could be using Excel spreadsheets to do some pivot tables and whatnot, but then the same thing could be done in using a data-centric approach, in which case perhaps a database could be used, and then perhaps scripts could be leveraged. But then you leverage the data science in order to get more context or behind certain decisions which need to be made. So there's so much more that can be done, and in that event, if there's if a practitioner who understands machine learning in general, the things they could do could be very different. Now, it's very hard to get access to real cybersecurity data from a client environment. So if a consultant or a practitioner already within a client, I mean, they're the right place to apply some great technology to further add value to the client.
Right. So for those people already in the cybersecurity field, especially they are dealing with those data, right, as I mentioned. So they get a concept about how it works, what kind of pattern, the thing. Then they can learn some, they need to have some math, right? Some mathematics.
It helps to, or else you're blindly applying algorithms, but it helps to understand the math, at least on a high level.
Informed decision on that one.
Yes.
Then you have some basic machine learning, algorithm knowledge process, plus some programming skills.
Yes,
right?
For instance, Python could be and existing libraries could be leveraged to already implement models, but if we understand the math, it adds more context as to how we make decisions.
Right.
And then some understanding of data visualization helps highly, in which case we could better explain the decisions being made, which is another problem within cybersecurity.
So what I hear is cybersecurity, math, machine learning, and programming language, and also some data analytic skills.
Yes, data visualization helps in that regard.
Okay, good. So those are the key skill sets we need.
Those are some of the things which would highly impact the way we perform our tasks.
Of course, when you put in together, you always also need to combine with some people skills and talk to people, explain things. Those are
absolutely because many times the end decision maker might not. I mean, it depends on the client environment, but then. For instance, it's great that we use cool technology, but what's the impact we're trying to make within an organization? So in which case, translating the insights we have in a way which could be understood by people from different parts of the business would, in a sense, entail the impact we make with all the work we've done. So the ability to best translate...
sounds like a soft skills.
100% soft skills, like how do you...
communication, I guess.
Yeah, communication could be one thing, and another could be how do you influence the decision maker based on the data you have. So if it's, for instance, an example could be today, usually we get X number of false positives, but now we can go down to another number of false positives. Maybe it might not make sense, but if you can demonstrate that, okay, this is how the number of false positives are rising, and we need to solve this problem. Okay, that's great, and now we can do 20x better with our new model. But, I mean, that provides some delta, some context to the end user, and that's just a high level example. So I mean, it's getting data, but then demonstrating the impact in a meaningful manner.
In a way, you need to tell a story.
Absolutely.
Right? The storytelling skills is really, really important.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, feels like there's a quite high demand in cybersecurity, in AI, but also from skill sets point of view, there's definitely a lot of gaps.
Yes.
So, based on what you see from our enterprise or organization, how can they develop our next generation cyber talent? Do you have any insights on that one?
So I think this would require looking at next generation, like the evolving technologies which are being used in real world environments. Could be your reinforcement learnings within cybersecurity. There are other elements like graph machine learning which is already being used in cybersecurity. Now, in order for our upcoming talent to understand these solutions, it would be great if they could work with existing practitioners who are already working on the same problem. So it could be various companies where you already have experts. So these companies could bring on board or partner with other organizations to bring on board interns who can get hands-on experience with real data, but then get meaningful insights from like your researchers and your professors who could be a part of the company. In which case there's a niche skill set which is being developed in those environments. And again, if you don't have access to data sets, it looks easy to implement these models, but then in the real life environment it's completely different. So being in that environment where products are already being made to serve real high velocity clients, and then basically learning in that environment, I think could make a huge difference.
So you need to take opportunity, find opportunity to have some like application with those data, so you can experience those scenario or use cases.
Absolutely. So it's hopefully under the supervision of experts, and again, there's a very small number of people who can leverage these techniques in a real live environment. So again, being in that environment helps a lot, and then these interns could be the next leaders within the industry.
Okay.
And workshops can be very helpful as well in order to put people up to speed with machine learning in general, and perhaps there could be another. Again, it's just my perspective. There could be an internship phase where your interns could work with high velocity like vendors who are doing some groundbreaking research and implementation of those research in the real environment.
Okay, wonderful. Because when we're speaking of next generation, not just the things we already have, but also for some emerging technology like AI, how can we leverage that for the future talent, but also future skills, future technology, future solutions? So we're looking forward to collaborate with you as well.